Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Roast here with Jessica Bun Bun. This is our Silo Season 2, Episode 3 reaction and review. Don't change that dial. Yes, we are here early talking about Silo this week because Apple TV Plus has released it early. So it is out there on the service for you to watch. And boy, do we have a lot to get into here.
Yeah, Thanksgiving is coming up here in the US. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody
Yeah.
out there who is celebrating. And as a Thanksgiving treat, Silo has been released
Yeah.
early. It's so fun. I'm really glad. I mean, I was already kind of like, oh my God, they're going to put it up on Thanksgiving. I'm going to be all full of turkey. I'm going to be falling asleep during it because of all my tryptophan going on. But they have released it early. And pretty good episode. I mean, overall, I'm going to be honest with you guys. This season is not hitting the way that season 1 did. And I think it's because we had everybody in the silo. We had all these
Yeah.
mysteries going on. And then this season has been very broken up. We had a whole episode of Juliette walking around this dead silo. Then we had a whole episode going on with Bernard and Meadows and Sims and Billings and things that were happening there, the rebellion going on down
Yeah.
below. And then this episode, which is what I was hoping for, where we were going to have a little bit of back and forth between the two stories. I'm really missing the synergy of everybody being in the same silo together. I'm just gonna say it. Anybody else out there feeling that way? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, because I'm feeling that way. I think this
Oh, you
show,
are?
yeah, it cooks with gas more when you get every single person in the same spot. Like, I'm enjoying parts of the Juliette and Solo storyline, but I
Yeah.
kind of feel like what's going on back at Silo 18, I care about. I don't want to say I care about Bernard, but I'm fascinated by
Yes.
Bernard and I like Billings. And, I enjoy watching Sims once again. Sims is not exactly the most likable person in the world, but it's just there's a focus on a lot of characters over there, including Knox, who I just don't really care about that much. And
No.
so that part of the story to me especially dragged in comparison to what was going on with Juliette and Solo, where apparently Solo also is responsible for cooking Thanksgiving dinner for everybody this year, and he's gonna make them whatever he made Juliette there to see
Chicken bowl.
just to know that she is human, I guess. But no, we'll get into everything what we've learned, what we still learn. How much should Solo be trusted? But
Yeah.
hit that subscribe button now because we have so much more Silo coverage coming your way. This is a 10-episode show. There's a lot still coming. We are also still in the midst of a lot of other great Apple TV Plus programming.
Applepalooza?
Hey, you remembered the name that I forgot. But no, we have Before with Billy Crystal that's going on. Great
Yeah.
psychological thriller.
Yeah.
Bad Sisters, which is doing a really great mystery this season. So hit that subscribe button so you guys don't miss that.
Dexter is also starting up real soon,
Yes.
and we're going to be back with coverage for that as well. We're also covering Doom Prophecy exclusively with video reviews over on our Patreon. It is the only place that you can get our Doom reviews, and it also helps support Matt and I here at the channel. So thank you so much to everybody who's helping us out over there. We really appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much. We really, really appreciate that.
Okay, Solo.
Yes.
Friend or foe?
Okay. He's a foe. Like, let's get that part of it out of the equation really well. But let's also talk about, I think, how Silo the show is probably trying to manipulate us on some level into making us think that he could potentially be some sort of friend. And it starts with the casting here to a certain extent because Steve Zahn's got a really, really unique voice. And I don't know if they could have casted anybody else in this role and it would have worked as well. And this gives me an opportunity to break out an impression that I do not do very often, maybe because it may not be good. Hey guys, it's me, Owen Wilson, and I'm just here to sort of talk a little bit about Juliette. You want to, this is the thing. Steve Zahn has a little bit of Owen Wilson in him, but the difference is that when you hear Owen Wilson's voice, it's very much just like, hey guys, let's just be friends, and you just want to be buddies, but there's something still kind of subtly ominous about the way in which Steve Zahn talks, where you think, oh, he could be innocent, but then you're just also like, oh, there's just something that's kind of off about this dude.
Yeah, listen, the thing about Solo is that he was the shadow of Russell, who was the head of IT. And
Yeah.
we know that Bernard is the head of IT over in Silo 18, and we know how much he knows. So, and because Solo has revealed, oh yeah, there's 50 other silos. Julia's like, what? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
It feels like whoever is part of IT not only knows that there are 50 other silos, that there's all this other stuff that's happening because of Bernard, and we know that he's medicating people to forget things, he's killing people, he's keeping people suppressed, he's controlling what people see when they go outside to clean. Like, the amount of control that is going on and the horrible things that IT is doing. Solo is no innocent. He is the shadow of Russell in IT, and he is loyal to Russell. He has said, Russell told me to come into the vault where all the answers are and protect this with my life. Even though Russell's dead, everybody's dead, my job is to just sit in this vault for the rest of my life and protect these secrets. There are 2 dead bodies sitting outside of his vault that are fresher than everybody else. So clearly he's willing to kill people to continue to not only just preserve his own life, but his life is preserved to preserve the secrets of the silo, because he is IT, and IT is the villain of the show. So while we've got this back and forth with Juliette, and she's trying to make some inroads, like, obviously Solo's been alone a long time. His social skills are not that great. Juliette, while she doesn't have the best social skills, she also has some pretty deep relationships. She had one with George. She has a deep relationship with Walk. She has a deep relationship with Shirley. She shadowed under Knox. Like, she does have social skills to be able to she's trying to get him to open the door. She's trying to get him to help her get to the fire gear so that maybe she can build another suit to go back outside again. But he's just not willing to open that door. And everything she's trying isn't working. For me, tinfoil hat, because he's IT and he's been trained not to let anybody get close to him so that he is able to protect the secrets. Russell told him, go into this vault, and this is what your job is until you die. Don't open this vault for anybody for any reason. In comes Juliette. She's throwing out everything in her bag of tricks, and she does end up getting somewhere, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But I still don't trust him. He is the villain of the show.
See, okay. There's a lot of different ways to unpack all of this, but let's just start with Russell. This is kind of a bad plan, because eventually Solo's going to die. Like, Solo's not going to be able to just be 200 years old just sitting in this vault. Like, eventually these secrets are going to get out. So I don't know what you thought you were ultimately going to do here, unless this is a situation where you just wanted to make sure that whoever was behind or involved in the Silo 17 rebellion, at least that particular generation of people would not get access to the secrets.
I don't know why Russell didn't just tell Solo, go into the vault and set it on fire, put it underwater, ruin every piece of information that's in there. There's nobody left in this silo, so just destroy it.
Yeah, and this also brings me to Solo. You got to let this stuff go, because Russell's giving you some terrible advice. You could have just set this on fire, and you still could have been loyal to him in some other way that did not involve you living this miserable life where you're constantly in there. And I think his relationship with Juliette at this point is pretty fascinating, where I think there's easily some ways you can read some of his lines, like, oh, I'm giving you this food to make sure that you're real, where you could think, oh, this is rather heartbreaking. But then you sit back and you're like, oh, this may just be very manipulative, because he might be trying to get in to Juliette on some level emotionally. Like you pointed out, training, and that, he's been alone for a long time, but he's also been trained to deal, I think, with certain elements of it. Like, sure, I'm someone who likes to believe that people can change over time. And there's a theoretical possibility here that because Solo's already opened the door and he seems willing to maybe help Juliette for now, that he could change and end up becoming some sort of ally for hers. But this is somebody who was clearly brought in by the Russell ways, and this is a very dark show. So I just think we have to have our hard hats on when it comes to this.
Yeah, because Solo's end doesn't feel like it can end in very many ways. Like, I feel that my tinfoil hat is
Yeah.
that all the IT people, they do know about all the other silos, clearly. Solo was like, yeah, there's 50 of them. So
Yeah.
Bernard knows that too, I think. I think they all know the same information. There might be one silo
Yeah.
that is in charge of all the rest of them to help keep everybody together. But I think all the IT department all communicates with each other in some sort of way if they have to. So I think that tunnel that George found in the beginning of this in season 1, that door, and it looks like there might be a connecting tunnel to something, but he doesn't know what. All the silos, I think, are all connected by these down below tunnels. And I think that IT knows about it, because when Juliette went out and she was talking to Bernard and she was like, I know about the door, sort of thing. You saw the look on his face where he was like, oh no, she knows about the door. That's not great. So I think that he knows about it. I think that Solo knows about it. And since Juliet's plan is to get back over to the other silo, are they going to let her back in after that? I don't think so. Like, I can't see that Bernard's just going to open up the doors. So I think that Solo's purpose here is to let her know, listen, there is a way, there's this door, it'll connect to your silo and we can go through that way. What I think though then is what happens to Solo when he gets over there. Is he just gonna hide down where the digging machine is? Is he gonna be brought into the silo and pretend that he isn't who he is? I truly think that they all know, all the IT people know who the other IT people are, if they need to be in touch with them. So I don't know how Solo pretends that he's not IT, and Bernard doesn't have to make one of two choices.
Yeah.
He's going to call Sims to throw him over the side, or he's going to have to end up being the Shadow, and he's going to betray Juliette because he's IT and he's a villain.
Yeah, I think that's the most likely scenario here by far, just because it's the easiest one for Solo to be in. And if he is still loyal at the end of the day to Russell, and he's still a part of like that infrastructure, it's going to be the easiest, because what's the alternative to him? Pretend to be somebody else. And yes, there is an idea in my head of him wearing a fake mustache over his very large and obscene beard and trying to pretend, but that's not really that realistic for a guy who already doesn't have a lot of social skills, that he's going to then go over there, adopt a totally different persona, pretend to be somebody else, like, and we don't know how much information Bernard would have him. Like, I agree with you that these silos all talk to each other. Do they have photos, descriptions of what other people look like? Like, that's all another thing to consider here. We just don't know, but to me, it's just going to be really, really difficult for him to go over there and pretend to be somebody else. Like, where I'm sort of landing with some of this, and that this is pretty dark in its own way too, but that Juliette is going to use Solo to find a way back. Like, I agree with you that that's sort of where her story is going. And just as somebody who has wanted to believe these tunnels for a very, very long time, I want to see the tunnels, but I also kind of feel like Juliette's going to go down there. Solo's going to help her to some extent, but along the way, she's going to realize that just Solo's not passing the smell test on a couple of things when it comes to his loyalty. And I think she's going to have to kill him. I think she's going to have to take him out before he even gets there, because she's going to know that it's going to be a problem. It's going to be too much to hide. And also, even if you are Bernard and you don't know who this guy is, the idea that this guy has been alone over there by himself for a long time, I don't think you're exactly going to be that trusting of him either.
But he could use this magical medicine that they're giving to people to forget about things and bring him back to when he was under Russell. And then that's what he is, and that's what he knows. And to me, that's the more compelling story than they just kill him off. That, we see Juliette and Solo make this really, interesting bond together. Not like the closest connection, because it doesn't seem like Solo's really capable of that. but that they make somewhat of a connection. They get
Yeah.
back over there. Bernard figures out who Solo is. We know that he's kind of screwing Sims around. Oh yeah, maybe you'll be the Shadow, maybe you won't be the Shadow. And Sims is on the other side being like, what is going on? Like, why am I not the Shadow already? Then in strolls Solo, where Bernard's going to be like, perfect.
Yeah.
This guy's already trained. He already knows the secrets. He clearly was willing to guard this secret with his life. The whole silo is dead, but here he is still holding on to the secrets. He is my new Shadow. I'm going to give him this magic medicine that makes him forget, like we just did with everybody else.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring him back to when he was under Russell, except he's now going to be under me.
Okay, this is
and that's going to break Juliette's heart. And yours, because I know how much you like Steve Zahn.
Listen, I've already got on my Steve Zahn protective suit of armor here, knowing that he's brought on season 2. It's the classic TV show rule. The people who you add later, they are the people who are easier to cut. You can almost call this the Mr. Echo theory for how much Lost completely destroyed my heart when it comes to Mr. Echo. And, it's just one of those sort of, I have to be a realist here with Solo, that he's probably a bad dude. They're probably going to kill him off anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, like him getting his memory wiped, very strong possibility. But the biggest issue with all of this, no matter where you lie on Solo, friend or foe, or what's going on the show in general, it's perfect time for a Thanksgiving metaphor, given when we are recording this.
Right.
They have put the pumpkin pie in the oven, and we're smelling the pumpkin, we're smelling the cinnamon, all that sort of good stuff, the whipped cream's in the fridge, but then they're like, no, you can't have the pumpkin pie yet. You have to wait until we tell you you can have the pie. Like, that's the pie in this show is Juliette going back into her silo and getting into this world where Billings could trust her, Locke, like all these other people who she's been close with, and actually having a real showdown. But we're just like waiting for Silo to tell us we can enjoy that.
Yeah. Enough of the good stuff for right now. We're going to drag something, and that is what we are dragging. It is dragging this show down for me from where I was with season 1. Season 1, that was a 10 out of 10 show for me. I could not stop talking about it. Anybody who would listen to me, I would tell them that you got to go watch Silo. And this season has been good, but when you raise the bar to a 10 out of 10, you can't come back with a 7 or 7.5. You have to come back with a 10. And that's kind of the struggle when your show is that good right out of the gate. You have to keep going at that pace. And once you've split up characters, it always makes it difficult to keep up with that pace.
They just had such a game-breaking twist, too, at the end of season 1.
Oh, my God.
Juliette going out of there, and it's like such this huge twist that you sit back and you're like, I don't know how they can make the same show again. And, not to get too much into spoilers for another Apple TV show, but this is the same issue that Severance is going to have moving forward, where season 1, there's some huge twists, and you're just like, okay, how are they going to do the same show? And it's just, right now with Silo, they can't do the same show because Juliette's in a radically different place, but it's also okay, you guys just had her outside for 5 seconds. Now she's in a totally new silo. There's not a lot of people for her to interact with. We're just sort of sitting back and waiting for the good stuff to happen. But the other issue while we're waiting is that over on Silo 18, we're spending just a lot of time with people who did not get a ton of screen time in season 1 because we were so focused on Juliette. Like, I'm just not super into Knox. I'm not super into Shirley. There's just like certain people we're just not predisposed to care about. I mean, including like these new characters, these prospective parents who just like, okay, we're meant to be invested in you guys now.
Yeah, I don't care about what's going on with Shirley and Knox and the rebellion that could be happening, all of those types of things. I haven't been interested in it. So by the time we got near to the end of the episode where Knox was talking to Shirley and was like, listen, let's go back down to the, digging machine And let's look at the names on the wall because I have a theory about it. Going about it the way you're going about it, screaming and yelling and, you
Yeah.
know, we're all rebelling. None of that's getting us anywhere. Let's go and start digging around for some answers and really try to figure this out together. I was like, okay.
Yes.
Now I'm becoming more interested in what's going on with you. But in general, what's going on over at Silo 18, where it's kind of the same thing we already went through, where Allison was looking for answers. She went out to clean. Then her husband's looking for answers. He goes out to clean. Then Juliette's looking for answers. Now she's out there cleaning and not cleaning. But then now we're over here with Meadows, who's, you know, diving deeper in, with Billings, who's diving deeper in. Oh, did she really ask to clean? Oh man, I don't think she did. Okay, well, what are we going to do about it? Oh, we're going to dig deeper into it. It's like, it's the same story is just going on and on and on, like we're going down a silo.
It has to be made different in some way from what we've seen in the past in order for it to be compelling, because it is just repeating ourselves. And that's where maybe there's something that can come out of these names that makes this feel a little bit different. Or maybe we can just actually legitimately build some sort of unified front. So it's not just we're going to send one person out to clean individually, where we have 5 or 6 people, and then you guys don't know what to do about it, because then that can spawn off into all these other different people, because we have kind of these disparate pieces that can come together. Knox, Shirley, Billings, who, you know, I still want to believe in. I like Billings a lot. He's one of my favorite characters that's left there. And then we also have Juliette's father, Sir Jorah, who is now really starting to come together here, where he's breaking the rules and kind of doing whatever he wants to.
Yeah, he is. And I mean, it was nice to see him make a different choice where he's like, okay, I'm not going to just do what I'm told and stop people from being able to have kids when they get picked in the lottery. I'm going to let this one happen and see how it rolls, sort of thing. Let's make some changes. I can only make small changes, but I can make changes. But I mean, that change, if she ends up having a baby, I mean, that change is really going to hurt him.
Yeah, this is a pretty big ripple effect. I don't know if he's just thinking emotionally because of their conversation earlier. I don't know if this is just he doesn't really care that much anymore, because this is the other struggle about living in this silo, right? Like, this is not a pleasant environment. You can't see the sunlight. Like, at a certain point, you're just going to be over it. And we're seeing that with Meadows, because it's that plus all the secrets that she's having to keep. It's just like, she's just like, I might as well just go outside at this point. And Juliette's father, the longer all this is going to go on, he may just be tired of it in his own way, of just constantly doing what he was told, when his daughter was rebelling, and maybe she's a little bit of an inspiration for him now.
Okay, I mentioned this in the last review that we did.
Okay.
Meadows and Bernard lovers. Like, when he was measuring her and there was sort of like this breath on her neck, and I was just like, okay, it feels like either he's in love with her and he's willing to do anything she wants, because clearly he is. I thought that he was just, when she asked to go outside and was like, I want the good tape, I want you to do this for me, whatever. And he was like, sure, no problem, no problem. I thought he was just gonna have Sims over the side with her. Like, how is he gonna let her go outside while nobody sees? Then he comes up with this plan. He's like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. It's gonna be while everybody's asleep. I'm gonna turn off the cameras. I'm gonna open the door. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna make it so that you can get outside. I was like, he's in love with her. If he's willing to do all of this to let her go out, he's in love with her. And then as he's measuring her and he's getting closer to her, and it felt like either just he's in love with her and she's like, nah, or they were together, and because she just couldn't handle the secret anymore, they broke it off and he just never got over it.
I think it could honestly be either one of them.
They
like,
felt familiar.
I do think you're right. I do think that he is in love with her. And a lot of it just comes down to logic, where there's no logical reason for Bernard to get rid of somebody who has basically inhabited all these different secrets, and he doesn't have to do anything that she wants. But
and someone that he really trusts. He even said that. He's like, you're the only person. I'll tell you anything.
Okay, well, here's the thing with Bernard. Like, obviously Bernard is a villain and he does a lot of terrible things, but just because he does a lot of terrible things doesn't mean that he's going to force somebody like Meadows to be with him if he has feelings for her. Like, it's just like, the situation's complicated. He may be awful to everybody else, but it's just, he clearly has some affection to her, and that's clouding his mind. Maybe it's clouding in terms of what he wants to do in this situation, but that's also why it's fascinating. This is also why, if we do see Meadows go out in the next episode or two, I'm going to be kind of disappointed, just because this is a character in Bernard who does not have a lot of obvious weak points. He clearly has weak points. Like, he's not actually like super effective in every part of his job here, but this is just such an obvious one.
Villains can love too.
Look what Silo is teaching us something, everybody.
Now, how fun
Yeah.
would it be to watch Meadows go out and go over to Silo 17, and then we have the weirdest trio ever of Meadows, Juliette, and Solo.
That feels like a sitcom. Like, I don't know what do they talk about? How do they relate to each other? Like, it's an interesting idea. And there are a lot of things that this show needs to sort of entertain right now. And the biggest one being just, how do you find a way to get these storylines more connected? But then once you do get them connected, what exactly do you do from there? Because it does bring us all back to the big fundamental question of, yeah, Juliette can go back there. Juliette can meet up with Meadows and they can go back there. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, the fact still remains that nobody can go outside. They'll all die. So like, that part of the story is still true. So you get all back. You have this added sort of knowledge. Like, the only real thing you can do is try to overthrow the Bernard operation and just be like, listen, everybody, I know a lot more of the truth. You guys can know a lot more of the truth, and we can just all live in some sort of harmony where we have an active amount of awareness together.
Could be. I mean, Meadows could go over to that dead silo and be like, you guys want to go back? No problem. I'm going to make this my home, and I'm going to be the new Solo over here.
She actually seems like she became the new Solo.
Yeah,
so.
I think so too. She may not help any of the other silos anymore or deal with the vault at all, but she may be like, you know what, I'm just going to make my home over here and be by myself because that's what I deserve. It seems like she's very much like, I deserve the worst at this point for everything that I know, everything that I've participated in, of all the terrible things that me and Bernard have done to people, and I can't take it anymore.
The biggest problem this season has is that everything is going to hinge on the payoff here. And that's a really tough position for a show to be in. It's sort of like a murder mystery show where you find out who the killer is and then it's really disappointing and you're like, I waited all this time for this. They have to find a way to nail that payoff. If they can do that, these first few episodes to me will be worth it. If it's kind of half-hearted, then it's just going to be like, okay, what were we doing here? Taking so much time to get to that point. But that's where we are coming out of Silo Season 2, Episode 3. So be sure to hit that subscribe button so you guys don't miss any other coverage, plus our Apple TV Palooza of Before and Bad Sisters, and of course Dexter Original Sin on the way. And if you guys want to support us further, join our Patreon for exclusive video coverage of Dune Prophecy. Thank you to those of you who have, and we'll see you here next time.